Facing a massive backlash, the government has staged a climb down on the proposed encryption policy. The government has issued a clarification on the proposed national encryption policy and said that WhatsApp and social media portals like Twitter and Google Hangout would be exempt now from the policy. This means that you will no longer need to save your messages for at least 90 days. Well, earlier, the draft encryption policy had would rather have forced one to keep any encrypted message for at least 90 days and produce it if needed by investigating agencies. It would have meant that you wouldn't be able to delete WhatsApp, Google Hangout and other messaging services which use some level of encryption. The government had published a draft of the policy document online to seek feedback from citizens and organizations.
We in India were lacking in having any sound policy on encryption. And this was not thought off the cuff. A proper expert committee sat who were having domain knowledge, and they recommended within the ambit of the Information Technology Act that we need to have a proper encryption policy. Therefore, and again I want to repeat and make it very clear that this draft policy is not the final view of the government. But even otherwise, when I noted some of the concerns of the public and some of the expressions which were avoidable, I thought it is better to rework it and give a clear roadmap as to for which category of services, creators it applies and for which it doesn't apply.
Brijesh Pandey is now joining us with more details on that issue. Brijesh, that was a hasty press conference called by Ravi Shankar Prasad, the minister himself, after last evening, people were discussing how this move was something that nobody clearly would like. It would amount to infringing on people's privacy, really.
Well, exactly. And how much the government was rattled, you can gauge by the fact, Maha, that press conference was basically called, that press conference was basically a cabinet briefing press conference in which he was expected to tell what transpired during the cabinet meet, which was held at 10:30 in the morning. But immediately after telling, and before any reporter could ask him about this draft bill on encryption, he himself started by saying that, he had come across a series of protests about the kind of, and the fact that, that the draft has been misunderstood, and he has specifically asked his ministry to withdraw the draft, and he was at his pains at length to try to dispel and make the distinction between the fact that this was a group of people whose formulation was what we saw as draft on the bill. But he said that this is definitely not the government's view, and the government gives freedom of internet, holds it in high priority. But it's very clear that the government has rattled enough to withdraw the draft in less than 24 hours.
Well, absolutely. Many thanks, Brijesh, for joining us.